mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, "Be sure that I am always present among you to guide and help you in your work and your sadhana. With my love and blessings," says our Divine Mother. Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Volume 14, Part 2, Book The Path of Yoga. Subtopic The Path, page 29. Our Divine Mother says, the mountain path leads always in two directions, upward and downward. All depends on what we put behind us. Life is a perpetual choice, says our Divine Mother. Life is a perpetual choice between truth and falsehood, light and darkness, progress and regression, the ascent towards the heights or a fall into the abyss. It is for each one to choose freely. In each one's life, a moment comes when he has to choose between the path and the muddy. You cannot put one foot here and one foot there. If you try to, you will be torn to pieces. A heart that does not choose is a heart that will die. You take up the spiritual path only when you feel you cannot do otherwise. When the path is known, it is easy to tread upon it. To follow the path to the end, one must be armed with a very patient endurance. Our Divine Mother says, on the spiritual path, each step forward is a conquest and the result of a fight. The road to the divine is always long, often dry in appearance, but always abundant in its results. Ascension is a stage by stage that one climbs towards the consciousness. Spiritual ascension is fearless, regular, and uninterrupted. Our Divine Mother says one will pass through as many stages as it is necessary to take, but one will arrive. The intellectual attitude comes first and practice follows little by little. What is very important is to maintain very alert the will to live and to be what one knows to be the truth. Then it is impossible to stop and even more to fall back. All human beings have a spiritual destiny which is near or far depending on each one's determination. One must will in all sincerity. Our Divine Mother says, all depends upon the choice of the force that you allow to make use of you as its instrument. Let me repeat, all depends upon the choice of the force that you allow to make use of you as its instrument. And the choice has to be made at every moment of your life. It is the conflict in you between what is attached to the ordinary life and what aspires for the divine life. It is up to you to choose which is strongest in you and act accordingly. Our Divine Mother says, you can follow the meanderings of innumerable reincarnations or choose the steep and rapid path of intense sadhana. He who follows the steep path that climbs the heights can easily slip down into the abyss. For those whose destiny is to scale the summits, the least false steps risk being a mortal danger. Our Divine Mother says, the perfect path for each one, the path which leads fastest to the divine, is the perfect path. All was gold and gold and gold, a torrent of golden light pouring down in an uninterrupted flow and bringing with it the consciousness that the path of the gods is a sunlit path in which difficulties lose all reality. Such is the path open before us if we choose to take it, says our Divine Mother. Next subtopic, Yoga. Our Divine Mother gives the definition of sadhak, sadhana, and yoga. One who follows a yogic discipline is called a sadhak. Sadhana is the yogic discipline, and yoga is union with the divine. By extension, the path which leads to this union is yoga. Question, sweet mother, would you please explain to me how doing yoga brings you nearer to the divine? And what is the real meaning of yoga? Is it only the contemplative body exercises, or is there a yoga of the mind also? For this, our Divine Mother says, this has nothing to do with the spiritual life, not even with religion. Yoga is not only the aspiration of the mind towards the divine, but also a yearning of the heart. The whole world is in the process of progressive transformation. If you take the discipline of yoga, you speed up in yourself the process. Yoga is commensurate with all life. True spirituality transforms life, says our Divine Mother. Next subtopic, the integral yoga. Three conceptions of the world. First, Buddhist and Shankarite. Our Divine Mother says the world is an illusion, a field of ignorance and suffering due to ignorance. The only thing to do is to get out of it as soon as possible and to disappear into the original non-existence or non-manifestation as per the Buddhist and the Shankarite. Second, the Vedantic, as very commonly understood. Our Divine Mother says the Vedantic, for them, the world is essentially divine, for the divine is omnipresent there. But its exterior expression is distorted, obscure, ignorant, perverted. The one thing to do is to become conscious of the inner divine, remain fixed in that consciousness without troubling about the outer world. For this external world cannot change and will always be in its natural state of unconsciousness and ignorance. Now, Sri Aurobindo's view of integral yoga. Our Divine Mother says, the world as it is not the divine creation. It is meant to be, but an obscure and perverted expression of it. It is not the expression of the divine consciousness and will, but this is what it is meant to become. It has been created to develop into a perfect manifestation of the divine under all his forms and aspects of light and knowledge, power, love, and beauty. This is our conception of it and the aim we follow. The usual sadhanas have for aim the union with the supreme consciousness, that is Sat Chit Ananda, and those who reach there are satisfied with their own liberation, leave the world to its unhappy plight. On the contrary, Sri Aurobindo's sadhana starts where the others end. Once the union with the Supreme is realized, one must bring down that realization to the exterior world and change the conditions of life upon earth until a total transformation is accomplished. In accordance with this aim, the sadhaks of the integral yoga do not retire from the world to lead a life of contemplation and meditation. Each one must devote at least 1/3 of his time to do a useful work. All activities are represented in the ashram, and each one chooses the work most congenial to his nature, but must do it in a spirit of service and unselfishness, keeping always in view the aim of integral transformation. Our Divine Mother says, to make this purpose possible, the ashram is organized so that all its inmates find their reasonable needs satisfied and have not to worry about their sustenance. The rules are very few so that each one can enjoy the freedom needed for his development. But few things are strictly forbidden: politics, smoking, alcoholic drink, and sex enjoyment. Great care is taken for the maintenance of good health, welfare, and normal growth of the body, small and big, young and old. Our Divine Mother says what we are doing now is a new thing. It has nothing to do with the past. We want the divine conquest of this world, the conquest of all its moments, and the realization of the divine here. It can be called an adventure because it is the first time that a yoga aims at transformation. It is the first time that a yoga aims at transformation and divinization of physical life instead of escape from it. Our Divine Mother says we want to translate into physical terms as perfectly as possible the inspiration sent by the Lord for the accomplishment of His work upon earth. And for that, each individual soul is a help and a collaborator, but each human ego too is a limitation and an obstacle. The more I go, the more I know. It is in the work that Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga is best done. It is not what you do, but the spirit in which you do, that is important for integral yoga, says our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, from the standpoint of yoga, it is not so much what you do, but how you do it matters most. It is not so much the act that matters, but the consciousness in which it is done. So all is well, and do not torment yourself. My love is always with you. From the point of view of a spiritual life, it is not what you do matters most, but the way in which it is done and the consciousness you put into it. Let me repeat. From the point of spiritual life, it is not what you do that matters most, but the way in which it is done and the consciousness you put into it. Remember always the divine, and all you do will be an expression of the divine presence. When your actions are consecrated to the divine, there will be no longer activities that are superior, activities that are inferior. all will have an equal importance, the value given them by the consecration. Whatever one does, it becomes useful if one puts a spark of true consciousness into it. The consciousness one has is much more important than the act one performs, and the most apparently useless act can become very productive if they are performed with the true consciousness. Our Divine Mother says it is the spirit and the consciousness from which it is done that makes an action yogic. It is not the action itself.
Telle est la promesse. Thou wilt reign over all the earth with thy sovereign love, and the consciousness of men will be full of the light of thy serenity. This is the promise